When the computer is turned on or reset, it initiates a special program stored on the system ROM chip called the Power On Self Test or POST. The POST program checks out the system every time that the computer boots. To perform this, POST sends out signals to all the devices on the board and then begin initiating their own built in diagnostics. Based on the results of these diagnostics, they will either come okay, all the components are good, and we can continue on with the boot, or it may be an issue with one of those devices. If there is an issue or failure to initiate that test, the result is going to be in a beep code or a series of beep codes. And these beep codes will be audible codes, or it will be a display on the screen showing what the issue is. It could be a keyboard, it could be a mouse that's not connected. And the device, it could be your RAM, the memory on the system is not reporting correctly. You will get a result of an error code of some sort, either on the screen or audible. Now, these beep codes would differ by manufacturer. So it's good to have the manufacturer's information about that motherboard to determine what that beep code is telling you. So you check your documentations. One of the things you want to go back and check, was there any major changes beforehand, any new added devices or anything along those lines that would trigger or initiate that beep code. Now, sometimes when a computer boots, you may not have a video source available. The monitor may be disconnected for whatever reason, or a video card. In any case, this is where the power on self test and the beep codes would really help the user determine what the problem is. So you listen to the beep codes, because if there's a bad video problem or a BIOS configuration, you wouldn't get any video output. Sometimes your bio information could be telling you about replacing a motherboard, a battery on the board, or the incorrect boot to a different drive or some sort like that. So again, this is where the valuable information for the beep code comes into play, because it can tell the technician what is wrong and they can diagnose the problems and find a solution. Crash screens, or the Windows blue screen of death. This is a screen that no one wants to see. This screen is telling the technician or the user that Windows operating system had a stop issue or a problem and had to shut down to stop other problems or prevent further damages. Now, we've all seen this screen over the years, and it has changed over the years. In its current version, Microsoft has changed the blue screen of death screen to add additional information to help the user and the technician determine what the problem is. Microsoft provides a scannable QR code on the modern blue screen of death screens that you can scan with a smartphone and look it up that way. The message also provides a URL for stop codes, and you can enter that information in to see what the most common stop codes is are on your screen. So if you look a little bit closer, you can see on this particular screen, it has the URL that I was speaking about and the stop code error message. So you can get some general information as far as how to find what the problem is and what caused that PC to stop or display the blue screen of death issue area. So when this happens, what you want to do is, of course, shut down the PC. If there's any last changes, you want to undo those changes. Sometimes it could have been hardware, driver, or software issues. It could have been a Windows update or something along those lines. You can reboot your computer into safe mode, where the minimal drivers are just loaded, and not all the other drivers, to kind of help determine what the problem is. You can undo your last changes. That sometimes there may be a hardware reset or a reseat of a system board, or a card that was put on the computer. Sometimes it's drivers. A driver may be updated or got corrupted. So again, if it was hardware or software, you may want to check with the manufacturer, because there may have been common issues with that. But these are all the issues that you may incur with adding software or hardware. And when you come up to a blue screen error, these are every area that you can go back and check to help diagnose the problem. Now, in the Mac OS, this is the Mac OS version of the blue screen of death. It's called the spinning weight cursor. Now, it's basically tell you that something's going on with the operating system. This is the feedback it's giving you. Now, if this sometimes the cursor may spin for a while, then it'll stop spinning because for whatever reason it may have had a hard time loading the software or reading the drive, trying to get some information off the drive. But if that cursor doesn't go away, you got an application issue, or it could be bad hardware. The disk could be slow paging in the disk. So restart the computer and check the logs when it reboots and when it comes back up to see what um, what transpired in the logs. See if there's anything in those logs that tell you as far as what the problem could be. Sometimes you have a black screen. Your computer may boot up, or sometimes it may just in the middle of it you get a black screen. Did the system post properly when that computer booted up for the first time? Did it post properly? Why is the monitor not viewing anything on the monitor? um, First thing you want to do, the signal from the video card to the monitor, check to see if that connection is tight, if it is properly connected, or it could be a power issue to the monitor. Check the power cord on the monitor, make sure it does have power. And going even further, if that still doesn't resolve the issue, swap the monitor, see if it was able to come up that way. Go ahead and check all your inputs. The type of connections could be a VGA, DVI, HDMI. Check all those connections. If you had a dim screen, you can do the monitor test on that as well. No power on your computer. Again, power issues are quite common on PCs. If you have a situation where there's no power at all, of course, the first thing you want to do is check your power source. Check your outlet, check your power supply. Those are the first two big areas that you want to check. There could be a problem with that power outlet. You may want to plug into a different outlet. If it's the power supply, if there is power in that outlet, that's the power supply. Then check the power supply on the device. If it's a power supply that has a power indicator light, if that indicator light is not on, you know that there may be a problem with the power supply. That power supply could be issuing some type of humming or noise. Now, some devices are powered and some are not, meaning some of the components on their motherboard are powered up and some components are not. Check the power supply voltage. This is where you want to get a multimeter and make sure that the output is the output that the manufacturer says that it should be within that range, because it could be working to an extent but not enough to power all the components on your motherboard or on your computer. When the computer booted up, did you notice any post messages, anything like that? It could be something on the motherboard. But these, again, are different areas and different ways that you can check and diagnose no power issues. Sluggish performance. Sometimes our computers may start off running really well, then get sluggish over a period of time. Sluggish performances are generally due to storage and memory. It can be low physical or virtual memory. Check the available RAM on the computer. How much RAM do you have in that computer? It could be low available space on the hard drive. It may need a disk defrag, or removing some information off of that hard drive. Other issues could be a failing motherboard, software issues, or too many apps that are open. Open up the task manager and look at the apps that are running and see if there's any that's running really high, taking memory and resources. It could be antivirus and anything along those lines. So again, these are different points to diagnose and check sluggish performance. Overheating. Um, in a computer, components generate heat, especially the moving components. The CPUs, the video cards, the RAM, those generate heat. Components or devices that cool your system are fans. If your device is overheating, if your laptop or computer is overheating, check the airflow. Make sure it has proper airflow. And what I mean by airflow is if you open up the case, there should be, of course, your fan, and there should be some type of ventage that for that air to vent through that computer or pass through that computer. Make sure those airflows are not blocked with dust or dirt or anything like that. The heat sinks on your CPUs and on other devices help cool those devices. Make sure the heat sinks are clean and make sure they're are dirt free. There's no dust or debris on the heat sinks. All of these help with the airflow and help cool the components off in your case. And make sure that the case itself is clean and free of dust and dirt. Burning smell. You should never have a burning smell from your computer. If you do have a burning smell, most likely it's going to be electrical problems. The source of that smell. Disconnect the power right away. Locate the bad components. Wait till the system is cooled down, of course, and you'll see damage on those components, where it may be melting or maybe a dark or burning areas on those components. You can tell right off where the burning may have happened or where it got really hot and begin to initiate a burn smell. Look for the power supply area. Replace those damaged components depending on what they are. Intermittent shutdowns. Now, even though your computer may shut down over a period of time, it may shut down once in a while or intermittent. It's not a routine thing. Treat it as it was a persistent issue. And the reason why you want to do that is because these problems, this intermittent shutdown, could cause further damage to your computer. So, components may be slowly failing. And as you put a heavy load or heavy use on them, they may cause the system to shut down. So run diagnostics like on your device manager. Check your components. Check the event viewer. The event viewer may tell you ahead of time what was going on that led to the last shutdown. It could be possible heat related, the motherboard, CPU, or graphic card, proper ventilation again. It could be the BIOS or UEFI. Check the fan and the temperature status in those areas to see if there's any critical alerts or some concerning information that the system is trying to alert you that something is going on. Application crashes. Sometimes our applications conflict with other applications and it causes that application to stop working. Big thing you want to do is check the event logs here. Look for any type of record or history of that going on. Windows also have a built-in application history. It's called the Windows Reliability Monitor. If you go to the Windows control panel under the System and Security and Maintenance, you'll find that application there, and it can show you the history of the application history of that problem app. That problem app. Also, check your software and application documentation. It could be some troubleshooting steps in there or some information that kind of lead you to diagnosing and solving the issue of your particular problem on your system. Grinding noises. This is a noise that you should never hear from your PC. Now, there are moving parts, especially if you're using an older magnetic drive. Those drives are normally a hum or a whirring noise. Or from the fan, you'll get a hum, a whirring, or a constant noise like that. But you wouldn't get a not normal noise like a grinding, scraping, or clicking, or scratching, or rattling, or anything like that. If something is grinding and scraping, you want to look at your hard drive. If it's clicking, it's scratching, it could be fan issues. It could be the bearings in the fan that's wearing out, or some other issue with that fan. Rattling is normally loose components. You know, with all these noises and other not normal noises, you want to investigate. Shut down the PC, open up the case, and investigate. Look for damage, physical damage. Look for loose components. These are some of the things that you will find when you hear those not normal noises coming from your PC case. Capacitor swelling. Now, over times, your capacitor may start to deteriorate and go bad. When they fail, they may swell up. This is called distended capacitors. Common symptoms of this is diminishing computer stability. The visual indication, of course, of the swelling of the capacitors. If you see on the right, the bottom image on the right shows the bulging and leaking capacitors. They will leak. Do not touch those capacitors because the chemicals that's leaking from them could cause chemical burns. Now, when you come to a situation like this and your capacitors are swelling, these capacitors may could be replaced individually, or depending on the capacitor, you may have to replace the entire motherboard. Again, check with the manufacturer for their recommendations here. Inaccurate system date and time. A lot of times over a period of time on our computers may lose the ability to keep the time correct. Sometimes it's not just the time; it could be other computer settings as well. It will lose the remembrance or they lose that information over a period of time. You have to keep resetting it every time you use the computer. Um, Generally, you'll find that it's a failing or failed CMOS battery or the motherboard battery. It will cause the inaccurate system time and you'll lose system settings on every boot. So, to replace that battery, it's very easy, it's very straightforward. Check the manufacturer of your motherboard. But the majority of time, that battery is like a coin battery on the motherboard. And there are steps on your manufacturer's information shows you how to replace those. All right. In this lesson, we covered a lot of areas as far as troubleshooting areas that's in the motherboard on your CPU and also related to the RAM. We talked about the power on self test or post, crash screens, black screens, sluggish performance, overheating, burning smells, intermittent shutdowns, application crashes, capacitor swelling, and also what to do when you have inaccurate system date and time. Thank you very much for being a part of this lesson, and I'll see you again in the next lesson.